Okay, hi everyone. Good day. My name is Carmen Bowman. It's my privilege to get to work with Wyoming on a big grant that just started April 1st. The name of our CMP grant is Implementing Culture Change Throughout Wyoming Nursing Homes, Affecting Resident Directed Living and Team Member Retention. How do you like that title? So, we're going to bring culture change to the state of Wyoming. We need all of your help, no matter what your role is. I just want to invite you to become a culture change expert. A culture change lead. Learn all you can and be a voice and advocate for changing institutional culture. It's time, don't you think? And the reason we have the second portion of the title is culture change practices do actually affect uh, lost my train of thought. Resident directed living, obviously. What we mean there is we're trying to give residents basically their life back, you know. Um, it shouldn't be the life of the institution, it should be their life as they know it. And so you'll hear a lot more about that. And because this has always been an issue, even before a pandemic, we are also going to look at how these culture change practices affect um, team member. I'm saying that instead of staff. If you think of the word staff, it's a bit institutional. Staff, you know, it's a nebulous kind of word. It's not really a homey word. And then look at the word team member. Bam, you got win-win. It reminds us we're a team, we're a member of a team. Anyway, it's a trend in our movement. So we're going to watch and see if team member retention is affected with the homes that are involved in this project. So I want to thank your Wyoming State Survey Agency for giving us this grant. So always know it's thanks to Laura Hudspeth and her team, also the CMS regional office, and it is a 3-year grant. And so keep that in mind, everyone. It's a 3-year grant, and it has a portion. Yeah, you know what? Can you hear me better? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I just put my earbuds in. I realized I had not. Can you hear me better? Someone's telling me it wasn't very loud, Jesse. I'm sorry for this little pause. Can you hear me at all any better? Otherwise, I'll turn my volume up. Can someone just let me know? I put the earbuds in. Is it any different? It might not be. Oh, dear. All right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, everyone. So the 3-year grant, you need to know, has 3 parts to it, okay? And I'm just going to tell you, part number 1 is getting this coalition up and running. I'll tell you more at the end. Number 2, it is an annual conference. I'll tell you more at the end. And number 3, ready? Drum roll, please. Many of you have probably heard this, that we were looking for 5 homes that wanted to be a part of more intense training. And what I'm trying to get to here is this map of Wyoming. We want to welcome and thank Powell Valley, Star Valley, South Lincoln, Granite Rehab, and Cheyenne Care Center. They are our first 5. And I'm proud to say that Life Care of Casper was number 6 interested in getting in. So if any of you are interested, just please plan on getting your application in early next April, get it on the calendar. And we need 5 homes every year. And then these 5 homes, they're going to take part in these webinars, but they're also going to get a monthly coaching call. And they've committed to implementing at least 3 culture change practices within the year. And we can do it, you can do it. So we are going to look at the artifacts of culture change. It's a culture change measurement tool that has been around, and it's actually in a 2.0 version. And I want to sort of not really apologize, but in a way apologize, because we're going to look at a lot of practices today, and we're going to look at a lot of practices next time and the following time. This artifacts tool actually represents, get this, 134 culture change practices. They end up being on this tool as 134 items. And that's a lot of items to look at. And I can't just tell you about them. I don't like it when all I have is 1 hour to tell about it. I'd much rather show it to you. So we are going to go through the privilege of looking at every single item. But what I apologize for is I don't have much time to go into each one. That's the bummer. So here we go. I'll tell you more. What is the artifacts of culture change? So this tool was actually created in 2006. CMS, Karen Shaneman had the idea, and she actually pulled it off. She got a small contract. I was very fortunate to be the subcontractor, and we put this tool together and gave it to the world to use. I'm curious if any of you ever heard of it, kind of prior to this project or not. Um, and the tool is designed for a nursing home to look at their current practices and think about, do we have that practice or not? Would we like to have that practice? And it's all in the direction of more resident directed life. It also represents these philosophies that are always about moving away from institutional model to just be normal, to be more home. Notice we're not saying home like. And so some of that philosophy would be residents are well known. Residents have much more decision making. The nursing home's policies, practices represent these ideas of culture change. It's embedded that way. Also, the physical environment more and more becomes home, although please don't panic about that by any means, because there are many practices that can be implemented without changing your physical environment. And then also team members not only learn about culture change, but to be honest, we end up having to unlearn a lot of things. If we're trying to not do some institutional ways, guess what? We have a lot of unlearning to do, and have fun with that. Talk about your unlearning. That's what I've learned from culture change leaders. And man, I realized they were right. And then this tool was also designed to maybe help homes be able to gauge some progress. How do you ever show progress? So the researchers told us back in early 2000s, you got to have a measurement. And in this first tool, we had just arbitrary points. And I'm proud to tell you that part is different now. And I believe it actually makes more sense. So one more thought about, why is it called artifacts? Karen Shaneman just ended up loving that idea because we were going to different homes that were doing a lot of culture change ideas that other nursing homes didn't know about. And we realized we need a way to depict to the rest of the world what a culture change home looks like. So just like anthropologists find proof of a culture that existed before us, these are kind of like proofs that are very common in culture change homes. And more importantly, they're just concrete. They're things you can see and things you can experience, and they're in policies and procedures. And they're markers. So instead of markers that reflect institution, they reflect home. And just want you to know, it's not a interview-based tool. We already have plenty of those, and that kind of slows down processes. So we purposely wanted to be artifacts of a change culture. And now we also call it a self-assessment tool. And I want to show you how the way of completing it is different now. You would look at each item, each practice, and you would decide as a group. By the way, that's really important, as a full group, whether or not that practice is fully implemented. So that would mean, is it present on a consistent basis or established as available for all residents? So consistent and all residents. And then partially would be present, on a less than consistent basis, and for some number less than all. Or is it just not a current practice? And now you check, the correct box, and you end up with tallies at the end. And in our minds, we felt like it was just more true to what's happening in your building. And it still is a way to measure and gauge progress. I'll show you some of I don't even like to call it scoring, but we'll show you that also in our hour together. And as you look through the tool, we certainly hope that you see things like, ooh, we want to, do that, or bring that to the community's attention and talk about it. All right, now, so it's really meant to be an internal self-assessment and implementation tool. I think some people got to thinking it was more about the measurement, data, research, and over the years, researchers have even helped us realize, don't worry so much about that. Use it as your own tool. So, right now, anyone listening, you could complete this tool and get what you might consider a baseline. How do your tallies line up? And then maybe decide what you're going to do. Like the homes in this project, the 5 homes, they're going to pick at least 3 practices to implement within a year. You all could do that, whether you're in the project or not. You could pick 1 practice, you could pick 10, depending on your bandwidth, right? Then we'd recommend completing it again at some other point in time. To me, annually makes a lot of sense. You could just put it on your calendar and plan to do it again next year around this time. And then, of course, as you see uh, the tallies or see the practices go by, you could create goals and decide on improvements you want to make. It's also a lovely process, everyone, to all realize what's really going on in the home that you represent. And what we mean by that is there's a famous story out of Florida many, many years ago with the original artifacts tool. And there is an item about a resident is able to get a bath or shower whenever they would like. And kind of typical administration said, of course, but the direct caregivers said, well, nobody gets a bath or shower on Wednesdays. And then they all looked at each other, well, why is that? And nobody knew. And I think that is such a great example of what happens in institutions, sadly. It's sort of like nobody even knows or remembers or, sadly questioned it. So make sure you complete the tool as a wide group. You want representation of people who live there, family members, and direct caregivers. You want the whole team. And then you'll hear whether or not those practices really are happening or not. So it's a lovely way to ferret out differences of opinion. And then certainly we hope it inspires you as you see what could be. I think it's an educational tool, whether you ever fill it out or not, and you just read it, you'll learn a lot. And again, it does afford us the opportunity to look at some progress research. We're going to look at, these tallies a year from now with the 5 homes that are in the project. And then I just want to encourage you to be creative, have fun, don't get caught up in points. It's your tool, it's your home, it's your community, it's your what we call culture change journey. So just let it be that, everyone, your very own culture change journey. And the new tool also comes with something new that we call the guidance. And so there's the tool itself and a guidance document, which simply explains some of the terms. I am going to share those explanations as we go through it today. And I just realized I meant to put this in the chat box before I started. And so I don't know what to do there. If anyone has the willingness to maybe go to the Pioneer Network website and find the Nursing Home 2.0 document and the guidance and put a link in the chat box for me, I would dearly appreciate it. And don't worry, I'm going to show you where all this is. Don't you worry. In fact, here we go. So at the pioneernetwork.net website, you will find this drop-down menu. And you will see that Artifacts has its own space now. So then toward the bottom, you see self-assessment for nursing homes, and that's the tool. And then when you go there, you also have the option for the guidance document. And then something else we want you to know about, we have compiled every resource we know of that matches each section. And in fact, today I put it per item just for you, Wyoming. I think that's hopefully very helpful. So some resources are free, but not all. And we've listed anything, whether it's free or it costs money. To be honest, there's not a ton of culture change resources in general. And I've always felt like just go get them all, basically. There's not that many. They don't cost that much. Spread it over your budget. It's just an idea. And then we also put together some free helpful artifact videos. What is this tool? Introduction, how to complete it, frequently asked questions. Those are free at the Pioneer Network website. And so there are 5 sections to the Artifacts tool. And today, with that introduction and the rest of our time, we're just going to go through the first section, Resident Directed Life. And then I will break down the next 2 sections next month and the last 2 the following month. Way to go, Wyoming. So maybe I could even pause. Does anyone have any questions about the project, the grant? I am going to say more at the end, so bear with me. Here we go. Resident directed life. Number one, new residents and families are welcomed by your team members, your managers. They're introduced to your home. They're educated about your culture change philosophy of enhancing residents' control over their lives, their rights, the amenities you have available for them, and choice of schedules. So, what does that mean? Welcoming. So, let me just share that right away. Welcoming is intentional. That's really important in my mind by your community. And you might have things such as a welcoming committee or the old welcome wagon. You know, it might be fun to talk with the people who live in the home that you represent and ask them about their memories about any kind of welcome wagon activities in their neighborhoods, in their towns, in their childhood, young adult. Did mom or grandma talk about it? Also, the idea of resident buddies or a resident mentor. So, people who've lived there for a while who might be willing to take a new person under their wing, show them around, become a friend, uh, just check on them. So good. Also, that you expect people. I have a sad story to tell you all. I was standing at a reception desk once at a nursing home trying to find my contact for a consultation. And a woman walked up to the receptionist and said, I'm here. And she's like, well, who are you? Well, I'm Mrs. Smith. And well, who is Mrs. Smith? And she said, well, I'm Harry's husband. He's moving in. And that's it, guys. People need to be expected and welcomed, and don't you dare please let that happen. Think of how upsetting it already is. So that's why there's this item that we would not let that happen. People would be very expected. We know when they're coming. We greet them at the door, and we also have some things planned if they're up to it. So the idea that, hey, if you're up to it, not too tired or whatever, we have lunch planned with so and so. Maybe it's a team member, maybe it's a resident, right? Maybe it's someone they know with the, or you're too tired, we could do that at supper, do it tomorrow, you know. Sometimes maybe getting a shower is the thing, depending on the last time they've had one. Just making it work for that new person. And then meeting them in a more, maybe a little bit more formal way, like a welcoming event, a welcoming party for new people. And also the same idea that your team members, staff members, are also assigned. Some of you have that idea of a guardian angel, etc. There's the next down neighbors. There's ambassadors, I think, with life care. It's, you know, that too is a good example of making sure people are welcomed. So that's our first item. And as we go along, like I said, the Pioneer Network has some free resources called the First 24 Hours Tip Sheet and a First 24 Hours Case Study for person-directed care. If that interests you, go get them. Here's another resource. What all the ideas I just said actually are in this book. Someone I got to write it with had them and did them, a social worker out of Spokane, Washington. But we created a helpful resource to follow the word soften. So we talk about supporting someone's simple pleasures as they're moving in, offering them choice options, fostering friendships, tying into the tasks we have to do, equalizing, not treating it like staff and residents, but equalizing and having things that are more normal. Okay. Thank you. I got a notice about a background sound. I think it's just my mic moving around, so I'm going to hold it. Thank you so much. And this is both a workbook, a practical workbook, as well as a training DVD for all disciplines. Now, number two, the home offers at least one of the following styles of dining that is really working on offering resident choice. So restaurant style, where you take their orders, or buffet style, where they help themselves, or family style, where the food is passed around at the table. And yes, I know we're coming out of a pandemic, and this may not be one to focus on at the moment, and that's okay. But notice how all styles honor choice. And as we do come out of the pandemic, to be honest, everyone, this is probably a perfect point in time to decide to do it different coming out. And here's another good example. Our item 3, practice 3, each meal is available for at least 2 hours. That's a culture change practice, that there's open dining times. And, you know, right now, where people can't just all be at the same table and you might have to do staggered dining times, I just want to advise you to take advantage of what's happening And instead of going back when that's over, to actually let it lead the way for you to figure out as a team how to offer more open dining times. And now you have this beautiful way of really giving people choice. People who want to eat early can, people who want to eat late can. Your team members don't have to rush and get everyone in the dining room at the same time. So it's a great example of a hardship on us, the pandemic, that you could be mindful to use to your advantage. And I'm sorry, I know I'm going fast through all these practices, but this is our day just to start hearing about them. The next one is that residents are supported to prepare and serve food if they want to. So that can be, in an activity kitchen, as a group activity. To be honest, people don't talk about this much, but if a resident wanted to help in your kitchen, it's their home. And if they're able and willing to follow infection control practices, I've seen pictures of residents with the hairnet and the gloves peeling potatoes in the kitchen. And it's something just to think about and perhaps move in that direction if and when your community's ready. Then we have snacks and drinks are easily available for residents at all times without having to ask. See, having to ask is the mark of an institution. And so homes for 20 years have really worked on this. Sometimes there's a stocked pantry, sometimes a refrigerator you can help yourself to, and sometimes a snack bar. And the regs that I referenced, these are in the tool. These are regs that actually support these ideas. If you want to go see how CMS supports them, we refer to the tag numbers. Number 6, in addition to snacks, residents can order food from the kitchen 24 hours a day, and team members are empowered to provide food upon request. Let me just tell you, a quote from an administrator once was this: "Hey, everybody on the team, they live here. It's their kitchen. It's their food. When they're hungry, you help them to have something to eat." Another easy example throughout the years, a small nursing home uh, decided, instead of, let's say, locking the kitchen up all night, they gave the nurses the keys. And so essentially, everyone, it could almost be that easy. And then to show nurses or nurse aides what is most accessible, where things are in the kitchen, so that residents' needs and hunger can be met. That's what we're talking about. Here's one of the frequently asked questions we got. We always have snacks on hand if a resident asks, but residents can't access them on their own. And team members can respond to requests around the clock, but the kitchen isn't open at night and options are more limited. So, again, an institutional practice is when people have to ask for things they actually need, whereas a normal practice in our homes, we have easy access without having to ask. And like I said, culture changed homes actually don't have their kitchens closed at night. And there's what I mentioned, the administrator. So just something to consider and move in that direction and figure out how you might make it work together. Number 7, baked goods are baked in all resident living areas, like a bread machine or a convectional oven, at least weekly. So we are talking bread machines, and you've all probably heard of the Otis Spunkmeyer convectional oven, any convectional oven like that. I think those are the main ones. And the reason being, we all know the beauty of baked goods and the aroma and how it affects actually our appetites. So something I wanted to share with you, a great practice I saw with a team I worked with in Colorado. They picked this practice, and the way they did it was teams shared it. So every Wednesday, you could smell and follow your nose to the bread baking. And on different Wednesdays, you would either go to the social service office, the dietitian's office, the therapy office, and I forget the fourth one, but isn't that creative? You could do that. It's so easy and it's so wonderful. And as we go, again, I'm sharing resources. Some are free, some cost money. Anything to do with dining here, from the various places that have done work in this area. Then we have that a home would have a policy to consider the regular diet first, prior to restricted diets. And I hope this is a trend in Wyoming. I'm not aware whether it is or not. Maybe someone could apprise me. But around the country in general, I think people have gotten the message that when we are older, our bodies apparently tend to not be that affected. So the blood sugar and the blood pressures just don't move that much. And so, therefore, research shows giving people regular food tends to not harm them like we think it might. Now, of course, it should all be taken on an individual basis, but the news is getting out. CMS regs actually speak to that. And they also refer to the dining practice standards. So let me tell you about that. This is also exciting. CMS back in 2008 had a national symposium on culture change and the environment first, and I'm sure that'll come up again. But the second one in 2010 was about dining, culture change and dining issues. And so what we basically found out from this national symposium, which was sponsored by CMS and the Pioneer Network, was the bottom line was we all need to do better to help people eat what they want to eat. Would you agree? And so these standards are full of new practices actually that help us move in that direction. And we put together a national task force, and it was all clinical standard setting organizations, including CMS, and again, quoting the research. And after that, we got questions about, hey, has anyone implemented these standards? And so that allowed us to ask for another grant, and we put together a toolkit. And so the toolkit is full of mock policies and procedures. It also has tip sheets for professionals to learn these other ways. It also has brochures for residents and families to learn you have the right to eat what you want to eat. And it has sample letters to the physician, or something we called an informed choice form. Notice the language, informed choice. It's beautiful. You do the informing, they get to make the choice, right? And so the standards are free at the Pioneer Network website, and the toolkit has a nominal fee, and you end up supporting the Pioneer Network. And we can do a whole show on those standards if you want sometime. But moving on, the home celebrates residents' individual birthdays rather than, or in addition to, celebrating in a group. And so we've just tried to really remind everyone that it's pretty institutional to do everything as a group. How many of you get together with everyone you know in March who has a birthday, and you have the March group birthday party? And how special is it when we celebrate individual birthdays? And then beware, it kind of morphed into then treating everyone the same, even though we highlight their birthday. Beware of not giving everyone the very same thing. That's not institutional. So you would actually ask, find out, and find a way to honor the person's wishes for their birthday. Some people want a party, some people hate a party. Some people want a cake, some people want to go out to dinner, right? So it's a beautiful one. 13 is using various essential oils for all the reasons that they can be helpful to people for appetite or pain or anxiety or insomnia. And of course, they're based on individual needs and preferences. And you find out, whether or not someone's allergic or reactive or sensitive. And then, of course, the ways to do it, I think they're very simple. You can put a drop or two, let's say, of lavender on a patch like this. You can put a drop or two on somebody's pillowcase, and really super easy. You can buy lavender lotion. Apparently, you can also put drops into lotions. And of course, there's other essential oils versus not just lavender, but lavender really links to helping people relax, helping people sleep. And when people are well rested, that also translates into fewer falls, everyone. 14, that you would actually offer massage therapy by trained persons, because they're the only ones that can do massage therapy. I worked as a consultant in a home that actually had a massage therapist come maybe once a week, mostly for residents, but they had a few slots for staff members, team members to sign up. And that was our dream, everyone, that somehow this beautiful service was offered to both the people who live there and the people who work there. All right, now, at least one dog or one cat lives on the premises. So this is actually, what I want to clarify here is, I know that a lot of nursing homes have animals that visit, and what we're really trying to promote is that they actually live there. It's so different when that cat or dog lives with people there. They're always there. They're a source of companionship. It's just so different. And so if you have pets that visit, that would be partially implemented. And also, I want to mention that the Eden Alternative is one of the only places to get assistance for this topic. And they have the only resource, and that is called the Animal Welfare Guidelines, written by two veterinarians who worked with Eden Alternative Nursing Homes. There's chapters on dogs, cats, birds, chickens, all sorts of things. And so our next item is that your home has a policy supporting residents to bring their own dog or cat to live with them. And it includes assisting with pet care for residents who are unable to provide care for their pet. Notice that's a lot of support. I was very impressed once with a team that told me on a break at a session that they decided they were going to support residents even when they could no longer take care of their pet. And they were going to they're going to throw away the policy that you can't have that pet if you can't take care of it anymore. Way to go. All right. Have you ever seen a physician order that reads like this? Michael must have his dog with him wherever he lives. I saw that, everyone, as a physician order once. And I still marvel. We could use more physician orders like that. What do you think? Wow. How many of you would appreciate a physician order for you someday, for your dog or cat to be with you? And so the next one is the home supports a philosophy that each individual's preference for real, authentic relationships and experiences are a priority to be considered before the artificial or technological substitutes. We have a lot of baby dolls and a lot of robotic cats and a lot of robotic dogs out there. And I think the intention was good, of course. All of our intentions have been good, but you got to just ponder and talk and think and ask people if that's what they want or not. And maybe they do. But to give people, the opportunity to think about it. Do you want authentic and real or something different? So now, just for fun, everybody get ready. We're going to do a poll number 1. I'm going to launch it. Those of you next to the computer, will you please fill this out? In the nursing home community you represent, dogs and cats, what? They either reside in the building, they visit, or there are none. And some of you have them residing in the building. Will you tell me who you are, please, 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 in the chat box? We want to collect who is doing what. And I'm most interested in who has animals residing in your building. And I'm going to end the poll and share it with you. And it says 31% of you actually have the animal in the building. Way to go. And then 75% have visitation, which is not surprising. Thank you. And then we're going to do another one. In your own home, your personal home, everybody, your house. Hang on. In your house, poll. Here we go. Next poll. Oh, dear. Stop sharing results. All right. Oh, please bear with me. Polling number 1. I need the next poll. Stop. Oh, I'm going to be upset. Aha. Polling number 2. In your personal home, dogs and cats reside in the building, only visit, or you don't have any? Which one? Oh my golly. Interesting. I'd love to know who has dogs or cats visiting in your personal home. Who brings them? Is it your kids, your grandkids? I would really love to know. I think that's interesting to think about. And 75, let's end the polling and share results. 76% of you have them at home, 12% of you have them visiting, and 18% of you have none. So notice, I got to tell you something, guys. I heard a statistic, 70% of Americans have pets. Look at our stats right there. I got to write it down. I'm sure I can get it later, but aren't those interesting stats? You landed just your little litmus test of you today in Wyoming on this webinar. 76% have the animal. Thank you. That was fun. And off we go. I have 2 more polls when we get to them. All right. Item 18, the home supports each resident's natural awakening rather than waking residents on a set schedule. I wanted to show you under resident rights, people have the right to choose activity schedules, including sleeping and waking. That's fairly new in the regs. They have the right to make choices about aspects of their life that are significant to them. And I want to ask you, is sleep important to any of you? Is sleep significant to you? Would anyone raise their hand? I know I would. And then I got to make a comment about true choice. True choice is when your body awakes naturally. You don't tell someone to wake me up. You change your system so nobody gets woken up, unless of course they got dialysis, I suppose. But true choice is your body wakes naturally, kind of like many of you get to do on the weekend. And then what we're basically unlearning and then training people to do is to tiptoe. Like it's okay to tiptoe and see sleeping, sleeping, tiptoe, back out, because we don't wake people up, because being well rested leads to better health, better, less depression, less anxiety, and even fewer falls, everybody. So let's do another poll. Ready? Oh, it's going to be so fun. Poll number 3. Launch the poll. I will want to be woken on the institution schedule. Have you ever answered that question before? And have you ever answered that question or asked the question of any people who live in nursing homes that you have lived in? So, what a fun question, everybody. I got to tell you something. Let me end it and show you. You're going to guess probably. No, none of us. I would add myself there, 100%. None of us want to be woken up on the institutional schedule. What does that tell us, everyone? I must share with you administrators that I highly regard, after they kind of thought about this, listened to this, said, we are going to go after this issue under the name of choice. We're going to start asking residents what their choice is. And that's how you can do it. All right. And then moving on, because we must. Each resident's preferences for a good night's sleep are known and provided, such as preferred light level, pillows, blankets, desired bedclothes. And what you could start doing, everyone, is simply asking your residents, what do you need for a good night's sleep? So I want to try something. We're going to, those of you that are at your computer, we are going to try something real fast. I'm going to start a new share, and it's going to be the whiteboard. Oh boy. Yep, sure it is. Carmen, you can do it. Share. Here it comes. Yes. Everyone get ready. At the top of your screen, you should see the option to annotate. You got to go to view. What did it say on the slide there? View options and annotate. And then I kind of recommend the text where you can type. And I'd love to see what do you need for a good night's sleep? And you should all be able to right now take part in my whiteboard. So find view options up at the top and then annotate. And nobody's doing it. So I wonder if it's not working. I'm so sorry. It's so much fun when it works. Very good. Thank you. In the chat box, you ask residents when they wake up, usually. Good. Hopefully you don't wake them up. Neighbors, pets, visit, family, pet visits. All right. And no one's drawing. What a bummer. I was hoping that would work, everyone. Sorry about that. We will learn how to make that work better. I'm sharing the whiteboard, and you should have options at the top, but no one's doing it, huh? Can anyone tell me what's happening on your end? Sorry. We'll just stop it real quick, but I was wanting to be brave and try it. All right. So we'll go to, the only option is to Zoom. Okay. Sorry about that, guys, but maybe we will figure that out. What a bummer. Here we go. How about in the chat box, someone says, what do you need for a good night's sleep? And it's so much fun. We'll have to do more at another time, but it's so much fun to ask people, what do you need? And what do you need? And what do you need? And it starts to paint the picture that we all need different things. Have any of you seen this cartoon? Honey, I've been through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, taught 3,297 children, administered 4 elementary schools, and outlived all my friends and relatives. I'm 91 years old and you're telling me it's bedtime? As the older woman looks up at the very tall person who works there. So guess what? 20. Each resident's daily preferred bedtime, which may vary every day, is known and honored. Also, residents are awakened during the night only per preference and individualized need and not according to a generic approach, such as the one that has plagued the institution, turn and reposition every 2 hours. That is generic, everyone, and it's not individualized. So think about this. Someone might need to be checked on more often than every 2 hours, right? And someone might need less often. And we're supposed to give individualized care, and your team will feel even better as you move into figuring out who really needs what with the goal of not interrupting people's sleep. Medications are delivered according to each resident's individual daily rhythms, such as waking and dining, rather than assigned clock time. So, personalized med pass, sometimes we call it individualized med pass. Isn't that exciting? 23, individualized non-pharmacological approaches are incorporated into each person's care plan before any psychoactive meds. And residents who already get those meds upon move-in are starting to be care planned approaches to decrease or eliminate those meds. And then we just reference what we mean by care plan, whatever your system is. If you have, if the Cardex system is part of your care plan, whatever it is, that's what needs to be affected. 24 goes into individualized bathing and showering techniques, such as that are taught on the Bathing Without a Battle. Excellent resource. We give links to that on the next slide. Also, resident preference for method of bathing is known and honored. Also, resident preference for frequency of the bath or shower is known and honored. So there's the DVD and there's the book. Highly recommend them, everybody. They're one of the best culture change resources. We even recommend all team members see the DVD, whether they ever give a bath or shower, because it's so well done and it gets you reframed into making everything very individualized. 27, your home coordinates for someone like family, friend, volunteer, or staff team member to be with someone who's dying at all times, unless, of course, they told you they didn't want that. Also, individual memorials or individual remembrances are held rather than group again. To this day, there's like, well, come to the group memorial for the people who died in the last 6 months. And then meaningful rituals are in place for everyone to recognize and process the fact that people do die living in nursing homes. So whether that's a bedside memorial, some homes do chimes ringing and they escort the body through the front door. And that's very important because what we're speaking to is our history of sort of hiding it, and the body goes through the back door. A special book for memories. Sometimes maybe a rose is at their place where they ate for a day or two. Very special things that your community could decide. Residents determine their own daily schedules and can make spontaneous requests and changes. Resident schedule preferences are integrated, into the team member schedules. I really believe, everyone, if you get there, you can brag that you've arrived. Here's a famous quote: no longer are the needs of the institution going to come before the needs of the individual. And what way does it typically go? So the more you just keep pushing it the other way, swinging the pendulum toward the individuals are what drive it. The individuals drive your staff schedules even. Residents participate in, many of these next items have to do with whatever you would call it, a task force, a committee, or a team that makes decisions about decor. Like what goes on the wall should be decided by the people who live there. Is anyone else tired of the decorator that flies in from out of state? And she gets to decide, really? She doesn't even live here. She doesn't even live in Wyoming, right? So the people who live there make these decisions, even about purchasing. Here's the budget. You guys decide. You live here. Also, the same idea about food. I know there's a lot of food committees, but kind of expanding it. Food, menu planning, even dining ambiance. Also, the idea that they decide what they want to do. I'm avoiding the word activities, but what do they want to do daily? What brings the individuals meaningful engagement? What events do they want? How do they want to celebrate holidays? And really inviting the people who live there to help plan these things. Residents also participate in some sort of committee about hiring team members. Believe it or not, we have this around the country. There are resident hiring committees. They are taught what they can ask and what they cannot ask. Also, residents in your QAPI committees and PIPs. Then we have residents and families kept informed of policy changes and decisions that affect residents. That doesn't always happen. It should, but here it is, more intentional. Engage residents in volunteerism according to each person's preference. So really highlighting that volunteering. There's statistics, everyone. There's research that people do better, even their health, blood pressure. It's all better when people give and they're involved in volunteering. The home makes support groups available for grief and loss or living with dementia. So important. Don't we all know that as humans, we don't grieve like we should? And so you helping people to grieve more is going to help them in the end. And how to cope with different things you got to cope with as you get older, including living with dementia. And then also participating in decision making on their neighborhood. So instead of unit, we say neighborhood. So whether that's a neighborhood or a household or a hallway, they participate in making decisions about their life there in their living area. So on this tool, this is an example of the end of the first section, and you would have a tally of how many you have fully or partially or not implemented. It just happens to be 39 in this section. And forgive me, but this is the end table, and it's just an example. But I want you to start to see that first column and first row is resident directed life, the 39 practices. You would say how many now you checked were fully, how many partially, how many not a current practice, and should still have that same total. And so as you interact with this tool, that's the idea. We also just put it into percentages again, just as an interesting way to gauge progress if you want to. Now, regarding this exciting CMP grant, please save the dates. So every last Friday of the month at this time, we will now have a free culture change webinar for everybody involved with nursing homes in general or with a nursing home. It is a CMP nursing home grant. And even though I'm working with 5 homes more specifically, these webinars are for everyone. And we would love to have every nursing home, all 38 of your Wyoming nursing homes, to take part. So if you can help spread the news, if you can help grab a hold of this goal with us and see if we can get all 38, that would be amazing. And so you saw what we did today. I'm going to take questions here in a little bit. Start thinking of your questions. The next 2 sections will be in May. Being well known and home environment and accommodation of resident needs and preferences. And then the next 2 will be in June, the section on family and community and leadership and team member engagement. And then we do have a list of the topics we're probably going to do. However, it is also subject to change depending on what the 5 homes pick as their practices. And so there may be some wiggle room. And I wanted to share with you that the part of the grant is the Wyoming Culture Change Coalition up and running again. And we have some big goals. I'm very proud of this coalition, especially what's known as the working committee. We have a working committee and a steering committee. And the working committee decided already a year ago, June of 2019 was our last meeting before we were waiting on this grant, and then of course paused for COVID. And the big goal, number 1, is that every person working in a Wyoming nursing home does receive training about culture change. And here we are offering these free webinars. So again, please pass on the links to listen to the live, and then also the recorded. I will send out the recording link in an hour. I want to thank Jill Holt, especially. She's getting it out to every nursing home administrator and DON. And then I'm also sending it to Leading Age, Wyoming Healthcare Association, and the Activity Coordinator Association. So if you have any other groups you would like this to get to, let us know. And our big goal number 2, what do you think? Every resident of a Wyoming nursing home sleeps until they wake up. Have any of you ever heard of this idea? A big, hairy, audacious goal? That's what these are. And I am very impressed. And so guess what? We decided to make it a big deal. You know, natural awakening is a gift. Uninterrupted, restorative sleep has so many benefits to our health, our psychosocial well-being, quality of life. why not make it a goal, Wyoming, and just move in that direction? So please join the culture change movement at large, the Wyoming culture change movement. It's going again. Consider joining the coalition in the sense of maybe getting on a committee. We're also going to be planning a big conference. So it was going to be a 1 day annual conference, and we've already decided it will just be over Zoom to make it easier this year. And we've already decided the dates if you'd like to block them out. We are going to offer free culture change training every Tuesday in March of 2022. And because nobody's going to fly anywhere, we've got money to spend on the people in the movement who did these things. So we can get big name people and pay what they're worth is kind of how I look at it. But we got to book them now as well. But if you want to be on any of that, please let me know. And let's do one more poll, everyone. We got time. Poll number 4. Are you ready? Launching the poll. Which one? I would rather live in a facility, live in, or even stay in a facility or a home. And maybe you do want to stay in a facility, but let's just show you what everyone clicked on. You just happened to click on 100% home. Imagine that. Oh, this is so much fun. If you ever lead a webinar or a meeting on Zoom, you should do polls. They're so much fun. So now I mostly meant for that to make a point in the language, right? And let me show you. Every time we interact, the working committee and the steering committee decided that we're going to have a word. I started out by calling it a word of the week. And really what I mean by that is you, every one of you in your organization, surveyors at the survey office, your Medicaid office, each nursing home team, consider having a word of the week or a word of the month. And so as a coalition, because we have monthly meetings, we're going to have a word of the month. And our first word we realized has to be this institutional word, facility. And let me just tell you a couple of things about this, okay? I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but if you think of what a facility really is, it's kind of like where the buses are parked. That's what a facility is, the bus facility, or a school. A school is a facility. Why? Because it's a building where nobody lives. And it just breaks my heart and our hearts that this weird word got chosen that does not have anything to do with home or living a great life, And every time we say facility, we just keep promoting the institutional model, the institutional ways. We're never going to get out of it, sadly. And so you will hear culture change leaders never use that word. They'll refer to the home you work in, the home you represent, or sometimes the community, the South Lincoln community. The word community is really what it is. If you think about it, a nursing home, even by itself, is a community unto itself. And as you think about neighborhood instead of unit, another fun one, sometimes the people who live there decide to refer to themselves as neighbors. Now you're a new neighbor instead of the new admit. And another win, everybody, is just to avoid it. In a lot of policies, the last 3 sentences will say in the facility. Well, you don't have to do that. Just sometimes you can avoid it. And sometimes you just refer to St. John's. You just call it the name it is. So we'd love for you to just start talking about it as a team, thinking about it. Do you like that word or not? What word might you use instead? And if you're really interested in language, this is a free white paper we did. Go get it at my website or the Pioneer Network. I also have a free language handout. If you want it, let me know. I'll send it to you. And with that, I want to say congratulations to Wyoming and see if you have any questions, ideas, thoughts, comments. And thank you. Callie said what she needs for a good night's sleep is the TV off. Callie, you're going to love this. My favorite channel is off. And I'm proud to say, have never had a TV in the bedroom. Oh my goodness. And then Julie says she needs white noise in order to sleep. Very good. So also, I would just love to hear from anybody. Laura Hudspeth, if you're there, I wanted to give you a moment to also greet the group if you want. I will be quiet. Who would like to talk or say anything? Is anyone excited for Wyoming? I actually don't see Laura Hudspeth unless you're on the phone, Laura. Patty says, I need the noise of a fan to sleep. Very common, right? And you know what's funny, everyone? So raise your hand if you love a fan. Raise your hand if you hate the fan. It's kind of one or the other, right? Raise your hand if you wear socks to bed. Raise your hand if you could never wear socks to bed, right? And then there's Brenda who sleeps with the TV on. Oh, so much fun. All right, no one's given me any comments or questions. So let's see. Let's see. What time we got, everybody? I have some takeaways for you. And yay, Danielle says in-house pets. Yes. Any ideas for breeds? Hey, Brenda Hancock, maybe you could help. Anyone listening, do you have any suggestions for a good breed of dog to live in the home where people live who also get nursing home care? Anyway, I have heard that greyhounds can be very good. Brenda Hancock had greyhounds. One thing I know is they're gentle and they're tall. Brenda also has a Labradoodle. She's saying, I love my Labradoodle. Joanne is saying labs are good. I do believe they have a good temperament. And Danielle, just go get that book from the Eden Alternative. It's the only resource, the only one. And it's very well done. And it'll guide you in these thinking. It'll tell you kind of what breeds to look for. It'll tell you how to make sure to do a temperament test. Thank you for your interest. Brenda says greyhounds are also adoptable and need homes. I think maybe Brenda, you pointed out that they need rescuing. And so that too can become a very beautiful way for residents to give to the community to adopt a dog. Let me also tell you guys, since we just have a minute, and then I'll do the takeaways and let you go. So guess what? You could go look this up online and maybe I can show it at another time. But in California, there are 80 nursing homes with a company called Rockport that actually make food in the nursing home and take it to the homeless shelter and serve it once a month. And it is a completely resident-led project. Wow. And the 80 nursing homes that already do this, it's such old hat. They wondered what else we could do. And they've started doing canine adoption projects. And so a committee of residents takes dogs that are found, they nurse them back to health. There's a clip online, you got to go see it. And then they take the calls of who might want to adopt the animal, and they interview the families and they get to pick who adopts. Isn't that cool? So maybe the residents could do the adopting to start with, and then maybe they could also expand to let it be a service to your community. Isn't that cool? All right. Brenda says, don't let the Labradoodle out because they run forever. Oh boy. And then Julie says, I'm fully engaged in transforming to a better environment. And this last year has shown that federal regs do not support culture change. We can never say we are truly home if we have to do things like keep the people who live here away from their loved ones. You know, Julie, it's so big. I can't even really speak to it. I know your hearts are heavy, everyone. And I wanted to tell you something about the new guidance. So it's on the front screen and I got to get up there. So let me give you some takeaways from this. Be cognizant of the artifacts of the institution. And you know what, guys, we've had culture change all along, even with all the federal regs. So bear that in mind. Learn the artifacts of culture change instead. Everything we just looked at is doable according to the regs. Yay. Consider becoming a culture change advocate or lead and just start calling yourself that. That's really a neat thing to start yourself to become an expert, learn about it, call me, look stuff up, buy the books, and be an advocate out loud in your culture. Consider maybe a culture change committee with strong support from management and having resources. Between you and me, I mean, from me to you, culture change is always still the answer, is what I've found. You will save money, you will make money, you'll have better resident, family, staff member, team member satisfaction. It's just better all around. People want to work there. They want to live there. That's how you'll make the money and save the money. They go way above minimal regulatory compliance. And we are supposed to help residents reach their highest practicable level of physical, mental, and psychosocial well-being. And guess what? All these practices help you do that. And last but not least, I want to start encouraging you all to think more about the life and emphasize the life people are living more than the care that you give and that they are receiving. Part of the problem in the institutional model is it's all about the received care. And really the words life and living and quality of life don't really come up that much. It's always clinical is often the problem. Now, with that, I'm going to show you one last slide. This is just my contribution to what's going on out there, and Julie just brought up, and it's right here. It's not on your handout if you have the handout, but I want to show you something. Ready? We'll end with this. Ready? Where'd it go? Shoot. Hang on. Right here. I got to share this beautiful quote with you. Here we go. Can you see this? Someone tell me, please. I think you can. This is an Asian proverb, everyone. The future is sort of like walking backwards, not knowing what is coming. When elders walk backwards, they have more to look at. And so when I heard about the new guidance that's happening right now, everyone, you know who knows what to do is your elders, the people older than you that live where you only work. I would say bring it to them. Don't feel like you have to make all the decisions. Think about all the requirements your nursing home is supposed to follow, right? You have to honor dignity and respect and choice and prevent accidents and have infection prevention, right? All of it. And it's hard to do. And so you all together have to figure it out. And I would really turn to the elders. They've gone through hardships their whole life. They're the ones that live there. Have these discussions with them. You know, maybe everyone does choose to just wear masks all the time. Maybe they choose to do that as a gift to one another. Maybe they decide to have one part of the dining room this and one part of the dining room that. Maybe they don't care if they wear a sticker that says I'm not vaccinated and I am vaccinated. I don't know, but they'll know. Okay. So with that, we're going to close this first webinar. Congratulations, Wyoming, and please join us the last Friday of May for webinar number 2. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye now.